Hi, and this week's Carolina Panorama Author Spotlight, we're interviewing Ms. Toretha Wright. She's the author of Secrets of the Harvest, an award-winning book, and she's here to talk to us about it.
Hi, and like you said, my name is Toretha Wright. I've written a book called The Secrets of the Harvest, and it recently won an international award from the African American Historical and Genealogical Society. And I was so excited because it won in the category of history, fiction, romance. And that's exactly what it is. It's a history romance novel. The main characters, Mae Francis and Zeke, take you on a wide range of adventures in their book. The historical part comes in when we talk about a lot of South Carolina in the 1930s, and that's where it's set. It starts off in 1918 and takes you through the 1930s, where Zeke and Mae Francis go through life on a sharecropping farm. They live from day to day with their antics and shenanigans, but they also learn different things in life through this book. You will find that how South Carolina was after World War I and up into the Depression, how African Americans lived on the sharecropping farms and what became of life after the Depression. So I was excited to receive that award. I was very excited to receive it. And my book, The Secrets of the Harvest, you can purchase it on Amazon.com. Or you can go to my website at www.wrightstuff.com and obtain a copy. Well, I got started years and years ago, around 7 years old, when I first wrote my first little book. I was in third grade, and I penned it based on just loving to write. We were brought up in a home of many, many books. My mother had books all around, from Encyclopedia Britannica to God's Little Acre, Erskine Caldwell. And reading further piqued my interest when I was very young. My sister Sadie would take me to the Aiken County Library on Sunday afternoons, and we would read all kinds of books. And she introduced me to some of the black favorites, Claude McKay, Langston Hughes, and all those guys. So I got a wide range of writing experience from reading. And I'll tell anyone, if you want to be a good writer, read. So basically, that's what I've done. I do remember at home we had bookcases filled with books. And just reading, and prompted my heir to write. I remember my mom went to an auction, an old house auction, when they was in a estate sale, and I found an original copy of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, and I treasured that book for a long, long time. So if you're interested in writing, make sure you do a lot of reading, because that'll help you on your journey. And I also want to talk that I am also a playwright. I've written several plays. I've written plays that have been shown and to a myriad of audiences, and I think I've got some pretty good reviews on them. I want to talk a little bit about my other books as well. I have a book, Shadow People, and this is a book of poetry and prose. It's life in verse, and I talk about living and life in my hometown of South Carolina and the people that I met there. Reflections in a Faded Mirror is a group of short stories, and I want to also mention that the majority of my books are set in small towns in South Carolina. I just love the charm of the old South. Reflections in the Mirror is about 12 short stories, and that was my third book. My first book was written back in early part of 2002. It's called Ties That Bind Us. And Ivy's Passion. And what I've done is added the sequel this year, Ties That Bind Us, Ivy's Passion, and Cleo's Song. And this is about two college friends who meet at college for the first time, and then they lose each other and wind up finding each other again after years and years of separation. a book I wrote in 2019 is Black Misery and Other Slave Songs. And what this is, it was 2019, and I wanted to do something for the 400 years of that we were enslaved. So I wrote this book. I penned this book, and I was especially proud of writing this particular book because I talk about our ancestors, and I talk about how I had a piece in here that I wanted to mention, that I had a piece in here about my ancestors. And I wanted to say from 1619, we are African Americans. We African Americans are not descendants of slaves, but we are the inheritors of enslaved Africans with rich and vibrant history for many yet to be uncovered. So those are some of my books. And like I say, all of them are on Amazon.com under Toretha Wright. And I just enjoy them. And I hope you do too. Dates and Nuts and Other Recipes for Romance and Madness. This is what I did was I veered off the path of my history and my Southern writing and went on a little trip to New York City with two girls, Gail and Lizette, and they have their fun times doing with their little antics and shenanigans in New York. And then they wind up back down south, married with children, and they're still into their antics with their husbands, Rich and Rob. So this is a serial novel, and I'm writing the second one. The second piece, volume 2, is what should be out in a couple of months. So be sure to look for Dates and Nuts and Other Recipes for Romance and Madness. And I also wanted to mention this was a serial novel back in, I don't know if you ever heard of Midlands Live magazine. This was a serial novel in Midlands Live magazine years ago, so I turned it into a novel. So that's what I have.
Yeah, have any future projects or writings that you're working on now?
Well, I am working on some films, projects that I'd written as plays that we're turning into film. One of them is called A Crazy Day at the Charleston Historic Museum. And this is about a wax museum. It's going to be portrayed during finished for African American History Month, Black History Month. And what it does is portrays wax figures. Kids are in the wax museum visiting, and the wax figures are going to come to life. So I'll just say that it's a very entertaining film with a lot of historical figures there. And I have another film I'm doing called A Fly on the Wall, and the main star in this is a fly. This particular film is going to talk about how we react, and if a fly was on the wall, what would he tell everybody else? So that particular film, it was in process right now too. But what we're doing lately that we'll be doing is because of COVID, of course, we can't do a Christmas program. So what we're doing is going from household to household and having folks tell their Christmas story. And we're going to do that in a film. We're going to have it spliced. We're going through several homes, and we're going to have that spliced and previewed on the 23rd of December. But what it's called is a lyrical Christmas. We're going to have people tell their stories. They're going to do dramatic poetry, and they're also going to be singing, playing musical instruments. And it's going to be the good side of Christmas and the sad side of Christmas, because there's a lot of blues. Christmas has a lot of blues time in it too. So we're not going to be always going to be the joyous time of Christmas. We're going to talk about people's feelings and emotions during Christmas time. So that's the last project we're doing. The most recent project we're doing right now. So,
do you have any more books coming out?
I do. I have the sequel to The Secrets of the Harvest. That one's coming out soon. That one's main character in this particular book. It was narrated by Mae Francis. The second one is going to be narrated by Zeke, the other main character in this particular book. And I do have, of course, the volume 2 of Dates and Nuts and Other Recipes for Romance and Madness. That's coming out, and I don't have anything else on my plate right now.
Okay, so when will those be coming out?
Well, Dates and Nuts is almost done. You know how you have to just make sure that it's all you want it to be? Yeah. Dates and Nuts is basically finished. I just want to put a new top on it to make sure that it's the best that it can be. So that's ready, and it should be out the 1st of 2021. Secrets of the Harvest is not quite finished yet. I'm thinking that's about 6 more months in the process. Once we are able, we will be having book signings and other shows. I was going to talk about a little thing I do also. In May, I do a little event called a book tasting. And it's a celebration of writers, authors, and what we do is we engage actors to act out our writings on stage. And what we call it is we bring it from the page to the stage. And we did it, and we were planning on doing it in 2020, however, we weren't able to. But I'm thinking in 2022 because I don't know if we'll be able to. But it's a big event. We had it at Taps Art Center in 2019, and we had several artists, creative artists, actors, writers, authors come out, and we had a really nice celebration of our books. So I plan on doing that, and I had signed on several big names this time. We had Alex English because he did a book. We had Walter Curry. We have a bunch of people who we were trying to engage, and Alex had automatically said yes, he was going to do it, and hopefully he will do it when we bring it back. So we're ready. We're ready to get back to our book tasting. We call it a very good event because we always have a reception where everybody can meet the authors and the actors before we go on stage. We have a real fun MC who transition us from piece to piece. And our actors were magnificent. They brought my actors for my books brought my works to life. They did a piece from Reflections in the Faded Mirror called The Truth About Michael and Jalen, and they brought that to life so well. Then I had some pieces done from Shadow People, and we brought that in, and it was excellent. I had about 6 or 7 people do pieces from this one, and they brought it in very well. So I was proud of that. So we're going to continue our book tasting whenever we get back on our feet.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll be able to get to that soon. So, yeah, we'd like to thank you for coming in and being featured at this week's Author Spotlight. And we hope you most success in the future and good luck in your future endeavors and your upcoming books.
I appreciate it so much, and thanks for having me.